The cafe was nearly empty that evening, the soft hum of jazz drifting lazily through the warm, amber-lit room. Rain streaked the windows, turning the world outside into a blurred watercolor of headlights and umbrellas. Amelia had arrived early, nerves fluttering in her chest like anxious birds trapped under glass. She had been coaxed into this blind date by her best friend, who swore that the man waiting for her was kind, honest, and worth a chance. But as the minutes stretched into 20, then 30, a sinking feeling took root inside her. He wasn't coming. The table across from her remained painfully empty, a silent accusation, and Amelia felt a bitter sting of rejection before she even knew the man. Her heart whispered that perhaps this was exactly what she deserved, a quiet reminder that sometimes people didn't show up, and life didn't owe her anything. If you believe in kindness and second chances, take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel, because sometimes the smallest acts can change everything. She sighed and toyed with the rim of her coffee cup, the warmth inside doing little to chase away the chill that had settled around her heart. The waiter approached with a polite smile, asking if she'd like to wait a little longer. She shook her head, trying to summon a bravery she wasn't sure she had. That's when she heard soft, small footsteps padding across the floor, hesitant but determined. Amelia looked up and froze. Two little girls, barely 5 years old, appeared in the doorway, their identical faces bright with excitement, eyes darting around the cafe until they landed on her. They were holding hands, one clinging slightly to the other, their tiny coats dripping with raindrops. And then, with voices clear and unwavering, they spoke in perfect unison. "Our daddy's sorry he's late." Her heart stopped. A man rushed in behind them, breathless, soaked from the rain, carrying the weight of exhaustion in every step. His eyes met hers, wide and apologetic, but there was something more there, a quiet vulnerability, a sincere regret that seemed to etch itself into her very soul. Amelia watched as he knelt down to gather his daughters, smoothing their damp hair from their faces, whispering a string of gentle apologies. She realized, almost painfully, that this wasn't a man who had forgotten or dismissed her. This was a man whose world was complicated, full of responsibilities that often demanded more than he could give. As he approached her table, Amelia noticed the care in his movements, the way his hands shook just slightly as he tucked the girls' coats around them. He looked at her with an honesty that cut through her skepticism like sunlight through fog. His name was Daniel, and he was a single father, raising twin daughters on his own since their mother had passed away 2 years ago. The blind date, Amelia realized, was never going to be simple. He hadn't wanted to show up empty-handed, without his girls, without the explanation that mattered. His life wasn't neat or tidy. It was messy, real, and demanding in a way that most people couldn't understand. They settled into the table, the girls chattering and drawing pictures, while Daniel pored over the menu, apologizing softly for the delay. Amelia's initial irritation melted into something softer, something deeply empathetic. There was a raw humanity to him, the kind that didn't come with polished words or rehearsed charm. He was vulnerable, honest, and imperfect. And in that imperfection, there was a beauty she hadn't expected to find in a blind date. As they ate, the conversation flowed with surprising ease. Amelia found herself laughing at the girls' antics, marveling at the way Daniel's face lit up when they shared stories about school or their imaginary adventures. It was clear that he had built his life around them, each decision, each sacrifice, each late night driven by love and responsibility. She noticed the tired lines around his eyes, the quiet weight on his shoulders, and yet, there was a strength there that resonated deeply. Here was a man who had been through heartache, who had been alone in the darkness, yet he carried hope in every small smile he gave his daughters. Amelia's own life had been a series of careful choices, always measured, always cautious. She had built walls to protect herself from disappointment, from heartbreak. But watching Daniel interact with his girls, seeing the tenderness he didn't try to hide, she felt a crack forming in those walls. She wanted to believe in him, in the possibility that life could surprise her, that trust could be given and met with sincerity. The evening stretched on, the cafe slowly filling with the gentle buzz of other diners. Daniel shared bits of his past, stories of struggles and triumphs, of nights spent working double shifts just to pay for piano lessons and the occasional family outing. There was a pause, a moment where his eyes met Amelia's, and she saw the weight of loneliness that had accompanied him for years, and yet there was hope, too, a quiet hope that maybe, just maybe, someone could understand the chaos and still choose to stay. Amelia felt tears prick at her eyes. She wasn't sure if it was empathy, or the way the universe had conspired to place her in this moment, or simply the relief of meeting someone whose life was as complicated and imperfect as hers. She reached across the table and touched his hand lightly, and Daniel's eyes softened in response. There was no rush, no forced declarations, only the slow unfolding of something genuine, fragile, and real. Outside, the rain began to ease, leaving the world glistening with reflections of neon signs and streetlights. The twins grew tired and leaned against their father, their small hands still entwined with his. Amelia watched the scene, feeling a warmth she hadn't anticipated. This was a man who loved without hesitation, who gave without expectation, who carried the burden of responsibility with courage. And in that moment she realized that love didn't always come in perfect timing or neat packages. Sometimes it arrived messy, complicated, and unexpected, but when it did, it had the power to heal wounds thought permanent. As they left the cafe together, the girls skipping ahead with newfound energy, Amelia caught a glimpse of the man behind them, adjusting the strap of one of their coats, smiling faintly as he watched them. She felt an unspoken connection, a recognition that their lives were a T to intersect in ways neither of them could predict. It wasn't just a date anymore. It was a beginning, a chance for understanding, a step toward building something real amidst the chaos of life. Weeks passed, and Amelia found herself drawn deeper into their lives. She spent afternoons baking cookies with the twins, reading bedtime stories, and watching Daniel navigate fatherhood with quiet determination. There were moments of exhaustion, tears, and frustration, but also laughter, tenderness, and a growing sense of family. Amelia realized that love was not about perfection, but about showing up, about choosing to care even when it was hard, even when the world demanded more than one person could give. Daniel's gratitude and humility never waned. He didn't try to impress or oversell himself. Instead, he shared himself openly, flaws and all, allowing Amelia to see the man behind the title of single dad. The man who had endured loss yet continued to hope, who had faced loneliness yet still believed in connection. Amelia, in turn, shared her own struggles, revealing layers she had carefully hidden from the world. Together they discovered a rhythm, a mutual respect, and an understanding that sometimes love arrived not in grand gestures, but in small, consistent acts of care. One evening, as they all sat together watching a movie, the twins nestled between them on the couch, Amelia felt a profound sense of belonging. She realized that life had a way of surprising those who dared to remain open, who allowed themselves to embrace vulnerability. The empty seat at the cafe, once a symbol of disappointment, had become the doorway to a new chapter, one filled with laughter, shared responsibility, and the quiet magic of second chances. The moment of clarity came when the twins, in their usual innocence, turned to her and said, "We're glad you're here." Those simple words, spoken with unfiltered sincerity, carried more weight than any romantic declaration could. Amelia understood, in that instant, that love was not about rushing or waiting for perfection. It was about being present, being patient, and allowing hearts to meet in their own time. As Daniel held his daughters close, He glanced at Amelia with a look that conveyed more than words ever could. It was an acknowledgement of trust, of hope, of the possibility of a shared future. The café, the rain, the empty seat, all of it had led to this convergence, this delicate weaving of lives that had been waiting for the right moment to collide. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like, comment, and share this video. Let others know that even in the chaos of life, kindness and love have a way of finding us. And before you go, leave a comment below sharing a moment when someone's small act of love or honesty changed your day. Your story could inspire someone else in ways you'll never know. Amelia smiled as the girls hugged her tightly, their laughter filling the room. She realized that what had started as a blind date, a moment of uncertainty and doubt, had transformed into something far greater than she could have imagined. Life, with all its unpredictability, had delivered a lesson in patience, empathy, and the extraordinary power of second chances. And in that lesson, she found hope, the kind that lingers long after the rain has stopped, that warms even the coldest evenings, that reminds us all that love, in its purest form, is worth waiting for.